It is an absolute pleasure to be introducing all these lovely people today. And starting with the ceremony right now, I'd like to call up Dr. Farha Abbasi and Dr. Halim Naeem. If they could come up and say a few words, and we'll get the ball rolling.
Assalamu alaikum. This is the moment I always get really humbled, and this has been a journey of 15 years, but a labor of love. It's just amazing when I look around the room, see people traveling all the way from Montreal, Jordan, Turkey, and from all over the country. This was the dream. This is the vision. The journey has started, alhamdulillah. We still have a long way to go, but we are going in the right direction. So welcome to the 11th Muslim Mental Health Conference. And just quickly, I always talk about and say that welcome to the Muslim mental health family. But just recently, I have started talking about welcome to the mental health ummah. Let's create this mental health ummah, be there for each other, and move forward. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, salatu salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadan al-Fatih lima ughliq wa khatim lima sabaq. Nasir al-haq bil-haq wal-hadi ila siratika mustaqim wa ala alihi haqq qadrihi wa miqdar al-azim. We praise Allah and we ask that He send His blessings and all of the goodness and support that is possible to the love of God's life, and that is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And through him, we know, and through his spirit and teachings and everything, all of this has come together. I want to thank, number one, Michigan State University for being there behind us, for funding and making this. We've been all over the world. It is the longest and continuous running Muslims Mental Health Conference in the world. So, and that is a law. That is a law. That's love of people. That's support. That's everything. That hard work. This is Dr. Abbasi. This is the level of persuasion. 3 and 4 years ago, the president of the American Psychological Association said that there is no mental health conference in the country that is more highly funded from a university than this one right here. So it takes a special type of woman, and you continuously pray for her to elevate her to be able to draw the level of blessings that she has. Because she's essentially, I've seen her do it single-handedly and early on. So I wanted to thank, yes. So I wanted to thank Dr. Abbasi and MSU and everybody involved, Dr. Megan, the Board of Trustees, everybody like that. I also want to thank the sponsoring and the connected organization here, the Islamic Social Services Association. Dr. Aneesah Nadir is the trailblazer and the pioneer. I know people say a lot of things out here on the West Coast and on the East Coast and the Midwest and things like that. Like, this is the first of this, this is the first of that. So I was 19. What was 2001? I guess I was born in 80. Yeah, I was 19 years old, and that was the first. She's founded, and there will be a 20-year gala dinner tomorrow. And in 1999, the first organized national Muslims mental health, social service, anything conference was put together by Dr. Aneesah in the late 90s. Dr. Aneesah, please stand up and give her an applause. So we reinforce history. All all right? This was back when people did not care. You know how kind of mental health is a cool thing now, and people like talking about it and doing workshops and all that stuff now? Like it's kind of a normal thing. It wasn't that way when we first started, when I was some of you guys' age, 19, 20 years old. It was not that way. The imams did not talk that way, okay? So, she was there, she supported, and she, in her conference, and the aura and the vibe, which is similar to what we feel here today, is the reason that people like me got into the movement and into mental health. So you can be thankful because you got a good-looking guy talking to you right now. So, speaking of good-looking guys, actually not really, but Hamada, Dr. Hamada, me. I want to thank the Institute of Muslim Mental Health. Hamada was there. He was a family friend when I was a teenager. Kind of had a lot of potential, but not as much direction. I knew I wanted to be a psychologist, but you know, he would do things to mentor and take me, you know, drag me down to some boring computer lab. We're going to look at what you're going to do when you're a psychologist or psychiatrist one day and stuff like that. So alhamdulillah, he has his way of always being there and mentoring. And the investment has paid off, right? Because I myself have mentored and basically built up your whole organization. No, there we go. So alhamdulillah, Dr. Hamada Hamid, his contribution, we're going to take pictures together. Dr. Aneesah started this thing, the whole idea of mental health. Dr. Farha Abbasi came along and made it a continuous, well-funded, and politically organized conference. And then Dr. Hamada Hamid came and standardized and brought the journal, that was his baby, the Journal of Muslim Mental Health, all right? So he came along, started the Institute of Muslim Mental Health 2006, right? Because I remember you had that small, tiny table like you got now at Dr. Aneesah's conference in 2006. We're going to start an organization. And, you know, and started that there. And alhamdulillah, it's grown and it's got some of the hottest young talent that is there. So these are people, I mean, don't let the young and pretty face fool you. These are people who have mentored and guided for a number of years. They were there passionate about this before it was cool to talk about, okay? And it takes a certain type of person for that. So I want certain people to be recognized. A lot of people have come along. Dr. Salma, she did one of in the old ISSA conferences, you did a gripping thing on domestic violence and have been on that for a very long time. There's Dr. Samira Ahmed, who's done, we have the FYI Institute, I believe, we have some representation, who's done things on Muslim youth academically. So there's a number of people who've come along the way, but in terms of actually solidifying and making this a real and platformed movement, it took certain people. So I want us to reinforce, we get it only once a year, and I've been talking for a little bit, but we want to make sure that we've reinforced and recalibrated that history. And that's where people like myself have come in and basically done our best to popularize the movement, popularize food, popularize everything with mental health right now, inshallah. So with that, I want to thank, again, MSU, ISSA, and the Institute of Muslim Mental Health, and thank all of you, the Phoenix community, and everybody around who have welcomed us in. And we're going to have a great time at this conference, right? We're going to have a great time? All right, very good. So we'll talk to you soon. Jazakallah khair, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So before we continue, I just have a few housekeeping announcements. One being that if you have to use the restroom, it's right outside where the registration table was. Also, we have an app called the WOVA app, W-H-O-V-A. Go ahead and download that. That'll keep you up to date with all the conference things. And also, after the conference is over in the evenings, we have a lot of activities going on that everyone is more than welcome to join. So let's see. Also, I'd like to thank all the volunteers who are with us today. Without you guys, this conference would also not be possible, so thank you to all the volunteers. And next, I'd like to call up Dr. Aneesah Nadir, who is a retired Arizona State University social worker professor. and a social worker for 40 years.
If I stand behind this, you won't see me, right? Assalamu alaikum and peace be with you. I'd like to welcome those of you who have traveled far and wide, and those of you who are here locally to Arizona, to Tempe, Arizona, to this 11th annual Muslim Mental Health Conference. I am so excited to have you here, Dr. Farha Abbasi. We put a little bug in the conversation more than a little bit like a year ago, and here we are today. So thank you for all that you've done. It's a pleasure to have you here. And thank you, Dr. Hamada, with the Institute for Mental Health. We've been friends for years, and so it's so nice to see to see my friends here. You know, I've had the wonderful opportunity to travel back to Michigan and DC and other places and spend time with you. So I'm so happy to have you here in the Southwest, right here in my home state in Arizona. So I want to send greetings to you from the Islamic Social Services Associations, USA and Canada. USA is actually headquartered here in Arizona. You'll meet she's honorary Dr. Shahina Siddiqui, who will be here later this afternoon. But as Halim mentioned, 20 years ago, there was no such thing. Our community basically had our heads buried in the sand. We were ostriches, you know, like we didn't have these kinds of problems. Muslims don't have these issues. It's understandable because even then we were fighting, you know, lots of concerns around Islamophobia and anti-Islamic rhetoric, and so we were worried about those kinds of things, and we didn't want to put extra stuff on ourselves. So understandably, but the reality was that you could see that things were in the works, you know. We were a smaller community then, but we started to have some concerns, and there was a group of us that came together. I think there were about 100 of us in Herndon, Virginia, back in 1999, including Shahina Siddiqui, Sharifa Al-Khatib, Iman Al-Qadi, Salma Abu-Jaderi, Imam Muhammad Majid. You know, we were in that room, and together we said, and Miriam Funches, Dr. Miriam Funches, we were in that room together, and we said, wait, something has to be done about this. We know it's coming. We know, because we've been in the field, we could see the signs coming, and we knew that we needed to get on with the work, and we couldn't let it die. And so that's how ISSA was born. In 1999 in Herndon, Virginia, alhamdulillah. And so with that, we began the process and we moved on. And we're here today, and we're so happy to have you all here today because our theme, is, as Halim mentioned, is the gala is tomorrow night, and that's celebrating 20 years of Islamic social services. So not only do we have this wonderful opportunity to learn and to grow and to gain more knowledge about the current issues and the context that we're facing with regard to mental health issues, and we have colleagues with us of other faiths. We have representatives from Arizona State University here as well, who came from counseling and from social work, who came here because we want to, as a community, we want to elevate our knowledge both as Muslims and as people of other traditions so that we can together provide the most effective services for the populations that we work with. And so, you know, with that, I just want to invite those of you who haven't gotten your tickets for the gala. It may not be too late. And Grizel Fabaro is here, and she will help you register for the gala tomorrow evening. Yes, it is a black tie, red carpet. And we are looking forward to that being a celebration and a recognition of a hard-fought journey because we have come full circle. Thank you so much.
Okay, and I'd also like to welcome Ben Odell. Are you here, Ben?
Yeah, can you stand up, Ben?
Could you stand up? Would you like to come say a few words? So Ben Odell is from the Faith-Based Workshop Partnership. Oh, neighborhood. Sorry, Dr. Abbasi's writing, you know. It'll get you. It'll get you.
Thank you. I joke with people, the name of my office changes every 4 or 8 years, and so I sometimes forget where I work. I am privileged to work with the Center for Faith and Opportunity Initiatives, which is within the Department of Health and Human Services. Many people call this the faith-based office that was set up by the Bush administration, continued by President Obama, and now continued by the present administration. And it is a pleasure to be here with you all, participating, thinking about the ways in which we can address mental health with our faith communities as partners. This is something that's a core focus of our work in the center and in DC. And so we're excited to come here and just sit and learn, hear, gather understanding and better perspectives of what the work you're doing, thinking how we can bring that back to DC to strengthen and support that, help others know about this work, help other faith traditions know about the amazing work that you all are doing so that they can think about ways they can do that in their community, as well as just continuing to move the work forward. We're really privileged and honored that Dr. Abbasi joined us in September for a meeting as we kind of started to think through some of these things, along with the in which faith communities can be part of this work moving forward. So I'm honored and privileged to be here with you all as a learner, as someone who can understand better about what's going on. And then I hope at 4 o'clock to be able to share with you all some of what I've learned with some of the activities that the government is doing, some of the strategies that we're putting forward. So come with your questions. Come. I was joking with somebody, there's way too much knowledge. Dr. Abbasi knows there's way too much knowledge up here. I need you guys to take some of it out of my head, put it into yours so that you can implement and do even more work in your community and support the amazing work that I know I'm going to hear more about today. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you all what we're doing. I'm honored and privileged to be with you all. Thank you so much.
And last but certainly not least, I would like to call up Dr. Hamada, who is the president of the Muslim Institute of Mental Health. And before or after that, then we'll get started with the panels.
Assalamu alaikum. Can everybody hear me? All right, jazakallah khair. Thank you, Dr. Farha Abbasi. This is our 11th annual conference. As the years go by, I appreciate your talent and skills more and more. I'm particularly excited with this new model where Farha is expanding it. And we first 9 years was in Michigan, moved to DC last year. She's taken it internationally to Jordan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Amman, and now Phoenix. So in addition to drawing people from all over the world, we're traveling all over the world. And so that's very exciting, and I'm very happy to be here. And it really is full circle, and I'll get to that. So we at Institute of Muslim Mental Health, we're a space for clinicians, researchers, students, trainees to all come together, exchange resources, share information. And so whether it's mentoring trainees or clinicians publishing, getting them into more research, we have a space for everybody. And so we really want you to come talk to us. We have our humble table there. Michelle is our blog editor. She's also a medical student who's we're mentoring, doing a health service research project. She'll ask you to fill out some surveys for her research, and actually the survey's on the app now, in the agenda section of the app. So please come talk to us, and we'll talk about opportunities for us to connect and get along in terms of the research we're doing. We're launching the MuslimHealth.com version 4.0. 2 years ago was 3.0. We have a new directory. We have the largest Muslim mental health clinical directory in the country, and we're upgrading it. And so we'll give you a sneak peek. It's on Michelle's screen over there. And so this is your opportunity to give us feedback so we can improve it. The major change, in addition to the layout, is that we decentralize things. You guys don't have to ask us to make changes to your addresses and your contact information. You can actually edit it now, manually. And so that's going to offload our work and help you guys edit more quickly. Of course, we have the Journal of Muslim Mental Health, and of course I encourage grad students in general, but also clinicians to publish their experiences in whether it's a case formulation or a review article. So come to me, and we have a session on publishing, and we have a session on mentoring as well. And so hopefully we have plenty of time to discuss opportunities throughout the conference. Let's see what I'm missing here. Journal, okay. So it is full circle. In 2005, I came to Arizona before there was a conference, before there was an Institute of Muslim Health or a journal. There was ISSA, and they had a counselor, and I was a trainee, and they had a Counseling Muslims conference. And that really did motivate and inspire me to do the work that I'm doing. And so it is good to be back in Arizona with old friends and to make new friends. On a more sobering note, we're a young organization, and this is kind of my first time making an announcement that we had a kind of a death in the family. Dr. Noreen Utz, or Hamdan, otherwise known as Aisha Utz, passed away this month. She published a book on Islam and the psychological perspectives in Islam, and she one of the earliest articles on cognitive therapy, incorporating Islamic principles on cognitive behavioral therapy, was published by her back in 2008. She spent most of her career in the Gulf area, and I knew her through meetings and teleconferences as much as I know many of you, and we get this face-to-face opportunity. We actually never met in person. I just learned this week that she passed away. So I want to spend just a brief moment of silence in the Islamic tradition. We read Fatiha, and so for just a few minutes or two, to read Fatiha for Dr. Aisha. Oops. So welcome again. We'll be here throughout the conference and throughout different sessions. I look forward to engaging and talking and moving forward.
Thank you.
And we've got one more guest. I'd like to call up Vice Mayor Lauren Kuby. She's here to say a few words.
Kuby, assalamu alaikum. Nice to be with you. Dr. Aneesah, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored to be here. Our friendship grows and grows, and sadly we've been together in some sad times most recently, but I'm honored to be here and welcome you on behalf of Mayor Mark Mitchell and the entire Tempe City Council. We are a city that prizes itself in its diversity and welcomes everyone of all faiths. And sadly, I'd like to say that hate has no home here, but we know, in fact, we live in very dangerous times, and we were subject to national news a year ago. We had a hate crime at our beloved mosque at the Islamic Community Center. And 2 women brought their children to the mosque and tried to desecrate it and withdrew brochures, started to take down the stacks of information on human services, and they were mocking the religion to their children and filming it, and they later put it on YouTube where people shared it and in some cases celebrated it. So this was sort of a shock in our community because we pride ourselves in our inclusiveness, and we have an anti-discrimination ordinance along with Phoenix and Flagstaff and Tucson, and we're actually defending that in the state Supreme Court now, believe it or not. It's being challenged, our anti-discrimination ordinance. But we know that we live in troublesome times, and our Islamic Community Center, though, with Imam Ahmed and Imad Omar, have shown such leadership. And I think today is the anniversary of Martin Luther King's death on April 4th, 1968. And I'm not sure how many of you were alive then. I was definitely alive. I was 11 years old, and I remember exactly where I was standing in my bedroom when my father called up and told me the news. I can remember the grain on the dust on the linoleum because I was so struck that day. And what a horrible, horrible attack that was on justice across America. So I'm reminded today when I think about that, and I don't mean to bring in bad tidings to talk about what happened in Tempe last year, but I want to say that our cultural community center embodies the Martin Luther King quote, which is, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only love can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." So we want to remember that 51 years ago. And stuff like that. So, but the good tidings is that the Islamic Community Center. They reached out to the community. They didn't need to reach out. We have a fellowship, an interfaith fellowship, and a community that is compassionate, but they reached out and had a love and coffee event. And about 300 people came to that event to come together in this moment of crisis, just as we did last month when there was a horrific Christchurch massacre. Our community came together to celebrate our fellowship amongst faiths and amongst the community. And I am one who is profoundly, inconsolably secular, but one who is fascinated by all the world's religions. So we showed that in Tempe, and our imams showed, and our Islamic community showed, that love in the face of hate, tolerance, and compassion in the face of bigotry is how we have to move together in these dangerous times. So I'm so pleased to be here. Know that Tempe is a community that prides itself on its outreach and its social and human services. I don't want to get too technical or wonky, but we spend per capita $35 more a year than the next closest city, Scottsdale. So we provide Care 7 services to victims of any crime. We are there for people from the beginning of that experience, horrific experience, to the end of that experience. We provide counseling to everyone, no matter their status, no matter their immigration status. And I hope to continue that legacy. Thank you very
much. Okay, and so in 15 minutes, we are going to have the first panel begin. Did you have anything you wanted to know? Yep, so we'll have the first panel in about 15 minutes. If for lunch you guys do have the vegetarian option, please feel free to go back out to the registration table and ask for a little vegetarian slip. That'll be important come lunchtime. Yeah, that's it. Assalamu alaikum.